Hello everybody. It is July the 2nd when I'm starting to put these clips together. Try to keep this as short as possible, I guess, and hopefully get it out in the next day or so. What you're looking at is my first ripe, I was going to say tomato, my first ripe pepper. One thing wrong with it, it's a mini yellow and it's orange. If I remember right, I think that happened to me last year too. I save the seeds from year to year. I no longer really recall who it was that gave them to me. Someone shared the seed with me by mail a number of years ago, and I like them. They're a nice little tomato, and I'm going to call them tomatoes. They're a nice little pepper. I don't have any problems with them as far as, blossom end rot or anything like I've had with other varieties, so I save seed and grow them every year, but obviously it cross-pollinated with something in here a few years ago, and instead of mini yellows, I have mini orange. I've got a first one anyway in early July. I have a few other things that I'd like to just highlight and show you, and inside and outside of the hoopos as well. This is in the hoopos, of course, the peppers. The beets have really filled in. Can't see any soil down between them at all. Now they're nicely spaced for beets. They're probably 5 or 6 inches apart, and some of them are starting to get some small beets on them, so another 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, and I should have some beets to enjoy. And to try to show you the height of the indeterminate tomatoes, trying to think which variety you might be looking at there. I think it might be that black vernissage. I've never grown before the one that was the free seeds, but the actual growth on that has to be over 4 foot so far, and it's got at least 3 more feet that it can go up. So, and there's two clusters, I think, on all of the indeterminates. Some very small green ones and a lot that are still blossoms. And if you can see over in the back corner there, if you see the white blossoms, that is what's left of my mini red daikon radish. I am letting it go to seed. I'm not going to let it throw its seeds around in here. People tell me that the seed pods are tasty, so I'm going to determine whether or not I like the seed pods before I pull them up. But very disappointed. I'm not going to get a single radish out of it. They all bolted. And the seed packet that said they are very slow to bolt. I don't know what fast to bolt would look like. These things started bolting just as they started to grow. This is about a 10-foot row of an Asian green that I had never heard of before. And rather than me try to butcher the pronunciation of it, I'll have that scroll up on the screen here for you now. I don't know if you watch, or if you don't watch, you should go watch. He has very good videos. Richard Perkins, and his channel is his name. He is in Sweden, and he runs a market garden, I guess you'd have to call it. He does CSAs, and I think also sells at markets, but he also raises livestock and eggs. He raises pigs and meat birds for poultry and whatever, but his videos are excellent. He's grown this particular green and showed it, when it was in bloom. He was putting it in his CSA packages for that week, and he had waited until it blossomed and was picking the blossom stems, and he said that they are crunchy and a sort of an asparagus substitute. I don't hold out much luck for that. I've eaten other things like Good King Henry, which I like very much. It's supposed to be an asparagus substitute, but nothing, in my opinion, substitutes for asparagus. Anyway, the seed packet and what I've read online said to pick those shoots prior to blossoming, and you can eat the shoots and the leaves as a green. So something I had never tried before. I think I never heard tell of before, so I'm anxious to see what it's like. As you can see, far too many of them. I didn't realize that every single seed I put in was going to germinate. I'll have to do some thinning before they get too much bigger, but anxious to give that a try anyway. Looking through the bars here of the corn cage, hopefully the camera isn't focusing on the fence instead of the corn plants, but still no top on this thing, and I've got to get around to doing that pretty soon. Still no great rush. There's no no cobs starting to form yet, or tassels or silks or anything like that. But I think what you've got it looking at there mostly is the ones that I grew in the greenhouse and transplanted out. They're probably, I don't know, 2 feet tall. And then I'll zoom down here, or pan down. These are the ones that I planted from seed to sort of give me a succession crop. You see some empty spots in there. I had cutworms or something that cut them down, but I think I probably have enough that I'll get a little corn out of a second crop there. The weeds annoy me. I'm not perfect with weeding, but I don't like to see weeds that I can't get at, and there's no way to get inside this cage. And there's something interesting. Can I show you or not? You see that large leafed plant right there? That is a sunflower, and I didn't plant any sunflowers. I feed the birds all winter. They didn't get fed out here at the cabin very much because of my bum leg. I couldn't get out here with all of the snow and whatever. But I feed them up at the house all winter. I presume a bird has dropped a sunflower seed in here, in which case it's probably what they call a black oil seed. And they don't grow terribly tall. They're the ones that are grown commercially. I've seen them in 100-acre fields and more out in Western Canada. And they're maybe 3 or 4 feet tall. So it'll be interesting to see that if it blooms in there. Anyway, I've got something to feed the birds. This is that little patch of 4 different kinds of squash, some popcorn, and some of the Vortex beans, which I guess you can probably see. The beans are starting to come up next to the corn stalks. But what I wanted to show it for is, if you follow Kevin Bradley, he was showing his squash plants in his garden the other day, and I commented that maybe I had sent him the wrong seed. This one is called Black Futsu, something like that, a Japanese squash, evidently black skin. And you can see how it's variegated. I'll get around the other side here. I sent Kevin some of the Tahitian squash. His leaves, you can see some variegation on that. And when I looked at his, I thought perhaps I'd sent him the wrong seed. But I think that's what you're definitely growing, Kevin, is the Tahitian. This is my bed of brassicas. The end that you're looking at there now is cauliflower. And moving down on the halfway and down to the other end is broccoli. Neither has started to hit up or anything yet, but I'm pleased with the way they've been growing anyway. And I transplanted my rutabagas, which we call turnips here, and in the UK I guess you call them Swedes. First time I've ever tried growing them as transplants, and so far it is looking quite good. Haven't lost any of them, and they've been growing quite nicely. They've only been in there about a week, and they've more than doubled in size. Probably see 4 different plants in there that definitely are not turnips or rutabagas or Swedes. I visited one of my favorite garden centers a week or so ago, and they had a few 4-packs left over of Brussels sprouts, and I bought one of the 4-packs of Brussels sprouts. They were extremely root bound, and I did my best of breaking the roots apart and putting them in. At least they didn't die yet, but I haven't seen them do any great amount of growth since they've been in there either. Well, I'm growing 2 kinds of beans. These are the monastery beans that Dave sent me, Southpaw Davy, and they're doing quite well, Dave. This is the row that the raccoon did not disturb. There's another row and another bed over here that the raccoon did some digging in, but I think still the most of the beans came up in that bed too, just not where I planted them. The raccoon sort of moved things around. And the other type are the Vortex. I already showed you one of the Vortex starting to grow next to corn, and those were given to me by Kevin Bradley. I haven't bought any bean seeds this year. I'm relying on gifts, looking forward to trying both of them. Well, Harold, Gardening with Papa, I think, or Grandpa. I'm sorry, Harold, I can't quite remember your channel name. Showed this morning some photographs of scallopini squash that he's harvesting already. I've got squash growing everywhere, but nothing's bloomed yet. This is Golden Nugget, a buttercup type squash, a bush variety. And these are the Black Fututsu. probably butchered that, but I can put that name on the screen for you here as well. I can't decide if they are a bush variety or if they're going to send out runners. I'm not seeing any sign of runners yet. I thought they were a running variety, but, well, maybe it's early days. We've had, well, I wouldn't say wet weather. We've had the occasional thunder shower and a bit of rain, but we haven't had enough rain in the last several weeks to fill the water barrel that I have on the end of the cabin. So I've seen rainstorms when that is empty and it gets filled in one rainstorm. But we've had cool, damp, foggy, cloudy weather until right now. It just cleared off a little while ago, and now it's very humid and hot here. So hopefully the forecast is telling the truth. For the rest of the week, it's supposed to be sunny and quite seasonable temperatures, nice and warm. So all these plants that have been sitting around waiting will be able to take off and start growing. I'll finish this thing off by talking once again about my potatoes. I'd like to thank everybody first for all of their nice comments on the video that I put up trying to find out what on earth was happening with my potatoes. And I agree, I guess, with most of the people who commented. It is something called leaf edema, and it's caused by too much watering, wet soil, too wet. I haven't watered them hardly at all because it's been such a wet spring, so it wasn't me that did the watering, it was Mother Nature. And they're getting over it. Even though it's been a sort of a damp week, it really wasn't a lot of rain. It just didn't get much sunshine. The leaves that had the spots, the yellow spotting, I think they probably still got most of them, but all the new growth doesn't have it at all. And if you can see up in the background, I guess we're showing, far left, back row, and the one next to it, those are the Cara and the Charlotte potatoes, and they weren't bothered by this edema thing at all. The other pots have all got the same thing in them, a variety of russet potato, and evidently very susceptible to being overwatered. Well, they're looking good now. I see blossom buds starting to come on them, either the Cara or the Charlotte. I can't remember which pot is which. One of them has bloomed and is now out of bloom, but some of the russets are starting to bloom. And the plants are all looking healthy, and they've all been topped up to the top with soil. So fingers crossed for some good potatoes in the not too distant future, I hope. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll close this down now and get it up on YouTube hopefully this weekend.